was on Duke's campus. What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So the USC X whatever post recently did one that asked if USC is wide receiver U because of how good the stats are for a lot of these guys in the NFL right now. When you look at the stats, they're leading right now in the most receiving yards, but they have 207 catches as well, and they're also leading with 16 touchdowns total. So that's obviously pretty good. And obviously a lot of older guys stepped up too, like Nelson Aguilar and Robert Woods. But, these guys are very talented, obviously. None of them are playing with the Chargers, of course. But, yes, I definitely think it's definitely one of the better places to come and play, especially in college, to get to the next level. I know Ohio State or Alabama is looked at as of late, but in the more history of the NFL, I think it's kind of always been looked at USC guys. There's always been a USC guy, especially you can go back to Lynn Swann or Keyshawn Johnson, guys like that did play very well. And then when it comes to CBS Sports, they recently have been doing mock drafts, and of course Caleb Williams of USC is number 1 to Chicago. Not that surprising, but there was a surprising one that they still have. I guess they went by records, and the Chargers right now would have the 8th overall pick, which is pretty crazy. But they did give him a selection of a really good guy that I've talked about quite a bit in Jerzan Newton. Hopefully I'm saying that first name correct, but he's a defensive tackle from the University of Illinois. And when I saw him play one time, you've heard me talk about him, mentioned him before. I thought he might be a later pick, but he looks like he's already been projected up into the first round. And I don't mind this as a pick for the Chargers either, because it's definitely a position of need. But yeah, he's definitely one of the brighter spots. I would not be mad at all with that pick. If he's going number 8 overall, I wonder if that's because of how talented he is or because of it's the Chargers and that's what they need the most. I know Brock Bowers was selected pretty soon after that, the tight end from Georgia, who's considered really good, even though he recently got injured, he had surgery. He's going to most likely return later in the college football season this year. But I still think, have that type of dynamic guy as your tight end with Justin Herbert would be pretty freaking awesome, in my opinion. And he can block too, because Georgia's obviously really good at running, and they use him for that also. So definitely be able to see what happens in the near future. I always wanted to go back and check out the stat of how close a lot of these Chargers games have been, especially the past 10 seasons, which kind of coincides with the GM Tom Telesco's tenure while he's been here. And of course, I want to get the numbers correct. There's like 99 games that are like within one score. And of course, in all those games, they have a losing record. Of course, they have 56 losses in those games. And I think even before Sunday's game against Kansas City, which ended up being a 2-point or a 2-score game, it would have been a 1-score game again. But all 5 games leading up to that this season were 1-score games as well for the Chargers. So you can understand why I've been kind of tired of watching this team underperform and, kind of tease you here and there and get you close to the edge of winning and most likely losing, as they've lost more recently in the past 10 years than not. So, yeah, once again, I probably won't be watching. It is Sunday night, so I kind of have to maybe check it out because it will be the only game on, but definitely not going to be watching it for a long time. But yeah, either way, it is pretty crazy. The Chargers did re-signed Blake Lynch to the active roster, and I know he was a linebacker they had signed a few months ago, but they did let him go. And I think they're going to be using him more for like the special teams and all that stuff, but I don't think he's going to be really playing depth-wise the linebacker position on defense. But either way, bringing back a guy that's at least knows some of what you're doing out there with your scheme. And the Anaheim Ducks have had a little bit of a 2-game win streak here. I believe they won 3-2 against the Canadian Blue Jackets, which was nice. And then last night they did play in Boston and they beat the Bruins 4-3 in overtime, which was really good too, because obviously it's the LA or California versus Boston and all that stuff rivalry. So luckily the Ducks started us off with a victory there, so definitely looking forward to the Lakers doing that as well in the near future. And then the ACC recently released their first team and second team preseason teams. And of course, Duke's Kyle Filipowski is on the first team. And if you remember, Tyrese Proctor was on the third team, I believe, for CBS Sports. But here at the ACC schools, he is on the second team. So like I said, he does have a lot of talent as well, especially a returning sophomore. Both of these guys are. They probably could have been drafted first round in the NBA this last offseason, but definitely very excited that they're back and healthy, and all they're thinking about is a championship. That's what Kyle Filipowski recently said too. That's the main reason why he came back, is for that championship. So that's what I'm definitely very excited about. And then they also mentioned that Kyle Filipowski was named the Player of the Year for the ACC. So there's definitely a lot of hype, a lot of hope to see what this guy can do, especially because he had a great season last year as a freshman, and he wasn't even 100% healthy most of the time. That's why he had to have off-season surgery, and now they call him two-hip flip, because now he finally has his two hips corrected, and now he's supposed to be even better and better on defense as well. So looking forward to seeing how this Duke team plays overall with this season starting up soon. And yes, as I've mentioned recently, that Cooper Flagg, the #1 recruit in the 2024 high school basketball class, was at Duke this past weekend for a Countdown to Craziness, which was cool. Took all his pictures and stuff, and apparently he was going to be announcing at some point soon this week, but obviously he's from the state of Maine, and sadly that dumb shooting that happened up there, because of course, people can't control themselves, and those lives that were lost suck. But yeah, of course, he felt that since a place was happening in his home state, he didn't want to take the attention away from that. So as of right now, I don't think he's going to be announcing anytime soon, as he was supposed to be this week. But either way, it kind of looks like a done deal for Duke in the end. But definitely looking forward to seeing him officially announced at some point. And then, yes, good luck to all those Duke players in the NBA. I mean, there's so many. There's like 24 overall, I think. But, of course, you got like Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, Paolo Banchero, Grayson Allen, Kyrie Irving, all those guys. So, yeah, definitely very happy and excited to check out those guys. Especially a couple of those guys even had some stellar debuts. Even Jalen Johnson, who was a guy I thought that left pretty early and should have stayed. He definitely had finally a career night the other night in the first game. He had like 21 points. I think it was like 7 rebounds as well and 2 steals. Had a couple of nice dunks in there as well. So getting more playing time, being more consistent with that team, and hopefully that will be able to make him flourish in the NBA now. And then Derek Lively, the freshman, that's the rookie that got drafted to the Dallas Mavericks. He had a great game. He was playing against the #1 pick, Victor Wembanyama, who of course had all the attention and stuff on him, but Derek Lively ate him up. He had like 16 points, 10 rebounds, assists, and a steal. And that was, like I said, it was against the #1 pick who had to deal with foul trouble. But as of right there, if you just looked at that game, it looked like Lively was a better pick than him. But of course, I'm pretty sure that guy from France has a lot more talent. I don't know. It's a bit of too much hype for me as of this second, so just have to wait and see how his young career ends up going in the end. And if you remember that top wide receiver that recently decommitted from Texas A&M, Draylon Miller, he of course recently said that he's going to be visiting some 3 schools unofficially in the month of November, and of course, luckily USC is one of those schools. I remember he was down to like LSU and us, but for some reason he chose Texas A&M, and now he's not going there anymore. But I think he also had like Colorado in there as well, so we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. But definitely looking forward to seeing if he does end up on the future roster or not. And then, yeah, when it comes to the Lakers, they sadly did lose that first game to Denver. I think the final score was like 119-107. They tried to make a comeback, and even in there was like a talk about LeBron having a minutes restriction, which is kind of weird that they're already having him do that, because they probably could have won the game. But I think they kind of took him out early in the past, like in the last minute or two, because they felt they weren't going to be able to come back. But leading up to that, every time they took him out, it seemed like Denver went on a run and they weren't able to get back into it. They tried to. They were down by like 3 at one point in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough. especially when Anthony Davis didn't score a point in the second half, so that didn't help. But they did play, I think it was, last night against, the Suns, and ended up winning that game 100-95. Anthony Davis definitely stepped up and scored in the second half, had 30 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, and LeBron James had a near triple-double as well. I knew that because he was on my fantasy team. He kind of was low. He only had like 13 points in that fourth quarter, but scored most of those points towards the end of the game and was assisting and doing all that. It's kind of weird that I think they definitely need a more of a pass-first type of point guard that will come out when LeBron does and be able to play and keep that offense going consistently, because Russell isn't doing it, and it doesn't seem like they're making Austin Reeves do that much this year as well. And even Gabe Vincent, who they signed to that big deal, he's more of like a shooting guard and plays defense, in my opinion. So obviously, I always keep saying it, they need to get a Duke guy, and Tyus Jones, who was recently traded to Washington, and he's kind of stuck there in obscurity because we all know Washington isn't going to be good this year. And he did pretty good his first game a couple of nights ago. But I think they've had pretty good history of trading with Washington. So I think maybe they could get that deal done. Try to get maybe D'Angelo Russell somewhere else, and then plug in Tyus Jones to come off the bench or start for you as well if you need him to, especially if LeBron needs the rest. But yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in the near future for the Lakers. At least they're 1-1. It's a good start, but I'm pretty sure they play soon coming up. And then yes, Green Day recently released a new single, and I think they even announced that there's gonna be a new album early in January too, like on the 19th. And the album's gonna be called Saviors. It's their 14th album, and the recently released single was The American Dream Is Killing Me. It's a alright hook song. Obviously, it seems like they're trying to go a bit more political again, because it must be a political year next year, or voting years, all that stuff, and they're starting it off with a bang apparently. But I mean, it's not one of the better singles. Like I've always said, when my bands come out with the first single, I usually don't like it as much, but I do end up liking most of the record anyways, or a lot of songs that they even put out officially as music videos. So definitely wait and see, because it's already going to be coming out pretty soon. And I think even after Thursday Night Football last night, they did like an Amazon thing. It was happening at like almost 12 midnight, so I didn't watch it. But yeah, they played for like an hour or something in LA, which is pretty cool. And they were recently at that When We Were Young festival, closing that out. They played like almost 2 hours there, which was probably pretty cool. Playing there with like Blink-182 and all them. So said I missed it, but maybe I'll be able to head out to a concert next year with both of those guys, or most likely will be separate concerts. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.